歡迎翻到嚟呢個寰雨膠事chat嘅，今日又召喚咗阿雲總上嚟喎。
Hello，大家好啊，係啊，冇錯。
咁今日咧嘅安排咧，又係呢一個有呢一個叫做嚟自波蘭嘅朋友啊，就係東歐嘅，唔知點解，咁佢又係要講英文噶啦，咁所以轉頭我哋會 recap 翻噶啦。
波蘭美女啊，大家快啲聽下啦。
Okay, welcome back to the program, and this is also a program in English because once again we are talking about somewhere in Eastern Europe. From last time we're talking about in Serbia, and this time I think this country, I think many Hong Kongers really fancy that, right? So Poland, yeah. So I welcome Kasia. She also has a blog on talking about her connection with Hong Kong before. And we will show it in the link and also and say hi to us.
Hello everyone. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. So Poland, I think it's a little bit weird because it doesn't like last time we're talking about Serbia. They end up people storming in the parliament. It's quite a spectacle in some way. But Poland is I think it's rather a country doing quite well. At least now it's weird because when we didn't hear the name of the country, that means they are doing well. Because
I think yes, from the statistics perspective, I think it's not doing terribly.
Yeah.
If you look at the global cases, I mean, we don't have that many cases and we don't have that many death cases.
Yeah.
Which overall, but there is also a debate going on, like how is the testing coverage, how many people got tested and so on, and there is never enough testing. So in that regard, I mean, those statistics...
This program is on air is 2 weeks ahead. So 2 weeks ago, what is the current figure now? Yeah.
Yes, so I think in total we have about 45 cases.
48. Yeah, but it's like Poland is like I think they are not the first European country got the coronavirus cases. The first cases appear on March the 4th, according to my research, and then I think you're doing relatively early because you're talking about a lockdown is in March 24th, and yes. I think it's quite stunning for us compared to the news from the Western Europe. And at that time, at the same area of time, Western Europe is so resistant to masks. So even my friends is wearing masks are being targeted and whatever. But in Eastern Europe, like in Czech Republic, in Poland, people are quite, I think the government actually wanted you to have masks or to have face coverings, right?
I mean, I think there was like a debate also over this. It's a social topic. A lot of people are for it. Some people are against it. There is a debate. But one thing that happened is that Poland was one of the first countries that got the lockdown. So very quickly, when they identify coronavirus cases in Europe, they quickly closed down. Yeah. People went remote to do the work remotely. There were some restrictions around public transportations, restaurants, and so on. So very quickly, they applied this. And secondly, I think in terms of masks, currently we are required to wear a mask in a public space. Of course, keep the social distance, wear a mask. But I think, there are still some people that are not that happy about this. So some people will comply with this. Some people will be like loosely complying.
Yeah.
So
I totally got that part. But the issue is like in the government, in the Western Europe, their mindset is like it looks like a flu. So even the government officials are resisting that you should not wear a mask. But in Poland, in Czech Republic, as I remember, you correct me if I'm wrong. In the very first order, they will say that you should wear a mask. if you don't have the mask at the moment, at least you have a cloth or whatever to cover your face. That is, at least I very confirmed. I know this is from Czech Republic, but I'm not sure is it also in Poland?
Yes, I was.
And the very first thing.
And there's still this social issue of like, you know, and the cultural difference of people feeling that if you wear a mask, that person is sick. That's what they always think. But I think it's slowly changing, and now, like, I don't know, I live in Warsaw, which is the capital of Poland, and normally if you go to the store, most people wear a mask, and if you go to, I don't know, a public transportation, then for sure. Of course, you will see some cases not wearing a mask, but I think also the police will give you a ticket if you don't wear a mask. So,
okay, it's fine. It will be fine. Yeah, and I think it's one thing is quite interesting because when people are quite, I think should I use the word obedience? But it might be a little bit weird, but it's at least people is okay to these rules at the first place. But in Poland, suddenly there are some controversies that the people suddenly find the government have no legal grounds to impose such rules.
Yes, I mean, this is correct, because based on the Polish constitution, which is like basic law in Hong Kong, like the very, you know, the very legal ground, you cannot restrict freedom of an individual. So that's so people start saying, you cannot tell me that I cannot do sports in the street, for example, when the lockdown was there, because some police was handing out fees, and people were rejecting this, and if they go to court, they can still win, because obviously this is restricting your individual freedom. But I think it's all about like social acceptance of this, because everyone knows that this situation is
abnormal.
I would say abnormal. It's not necessarily, it's for our own good. So I think some people, of course, you will find that the individuals that will be really fighting, but some people will just accept the situation, I would say.
Is there really any court cases got into the court system, actually?
Yes, I think there were
Some
several
local
cases,
okay.
but I did not a big thing, you know. On the news, they didn't report it, so I don't think it were like a very big topic. The only topic is that it's clear for people that you would have to go for a very long legal procedure to change the law, that is currently saying you cannot restrict individual. And of course, we will not do it because no one wants to do it, and it would be against democracy. So, you know, in the end, like, people just accept it, I think.
I think this is remind me, because I have to, because you know I'm doing an international news site is actually this program attached to, because it reminds me a case in Portugal at the first time at the first, I think it's very first, they don't have any cases. I think it's early January or something, when they trying to repatriate people from Wuhan.
Yeah.
And they find it that they cannot confine their citizens, because their constitution doesn't. They even, I don't know why they did that. They do it in they probably write the constitution at, I don't know, maybe 1970 something, and the government found they have no legal ground to quarantine people.
Yes, and here also was this case that they say, again, it's restricting the individual. You cannot.
I think the Portugal case is a little bit weird. They can certainly, they have the code or whatever from the, you know, from they probably have many juntas or many military government before. They can restrict people, they can curfew people, but they certainly specific they cannot quarantine people, because it's a kind of imprisonment. I think that's be a little bit different from country, but that is Portugal. But in Poland, I think it's a more. I think from at least from what I'm heard from you, it's more general freedom because you can be talking about a lot of. Maybe this is after the the so-called revolution in the 1980s, late 1980s. So they put a quite liberal constitution on this one. So
actually, if we go to constitution, this is interesting because Polish constitution is one of the oldest in the world, and I think it's the oldest in Europe.
Okay.
So it's actually very, very old document, but I don't remember exact date, but from a long time ago.
Okay, maybe something from the
like 18th century, something like that.
Okay.
So quite a long time, and but what is good is maybe it's not that specific as. Again, I wouldn't know about Portugal.
Interpretation or something. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And I think we should talking about more about the so-called new habits that people are starting doing most of things online as most as possible. Because I mean here, also in Hong Kong, like those those pandas, those kangaroos, all kinds of brands are competing very fiercely now in Hong Kong. How is it in Poland?
I think it's, again, I follow some friends from Hong Kong. I've been living there for a while and I have a lot of friends, and I think the habits are quite similar. So, for example, people do some fitness online now because the gyms got closed.
Yeah.
I mean, now they reopened, but only recently. And the habit is people already start working out at home, so and outdoors. So this is number one, big change. Since they start working remotely, they suddenly start working out at home a lot and also outdoors. You can see a lot of people doing like biking, some outdoor training. That's quite common.
Yep.
Now, the funny one is people start baking bread. And that was like a very big thing, on the internet, that everyone was like baking bread, buying the baking powder and a lot of like different specific ingredients to bake the bread.
So flour shortages I can expect in the supermarket.
No, I think it's okay because they do order a lot of online stuff.
Yeah.
So, and we have the specific for Poland. So we use Amazon, but there is also like a local platform called Allegro. And on that platform, this online shopping.
Italian.
No, it's Polish. I don't know why the name is like that.
But Allegro, it sounds Italian very fast. Is it the same thing or?
I think it's a Latin word they use.
Please, I play piano. I know that word instantly. That is something related to music. Yeah.
Yes, could be. I guess in Latin it means I'm not sure, but I think it means happiness or something like that.
Okay.
Yes, so that's why I mean it's just a name.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the platform, they start noticing different. If you look at the sales of the platform, what was the most sold item on the platform? First, it was like baking yeast for bread.
Yep.
It's quite funny, and then also some furniture for like home office, so like small desks, chairs, like office chairs. And those kind of things. It was I heard that the sales went really up.
So people just have dining tables usually in Polish homes. They have to buy the office chair or desk for the home office, work from home.
So for example, as compared to Hong Kong, the apartments are usually bigger. So I think people are, they want to create their own space for work and their own space for
like
work.
A room in a British sense, it sounds like that.
Yeah.
So how is work from home? Because you told me that before the whole pandemic is totally people don't think it's a thing, and suddenly now everyone is like can I work at home is a new trend.
Yes, well, definitely. I think most of the international companies,
Yep.
they definitely work from home. And I mean, unless your job is essential and you have to, for example, log into particular systems that are in your office, then yes, those people are permitted to go to work. But majority of the people are working from home. And in fact, today in the morning, I was in the office I had a special permission to go to the office, and there was no one, really. Just the lady on the reception desk and a security guard, and no one really working from the office. So. And you have to, of course, apply for special permission. And this happens with everything. The government offices also, I think, partially remote. Definitely all the global multinational companies, all the big Polish companies. So unless, of course, if you're a doctor, you need to go to work. But otherwise, they try to limit the people going to workplaces. Especially, they're saying that the workplace is actually number one current source of infection.
Oh, that's something properly in Hong Kong we should hear from there. The working place is the largest in Poland.
I mean, if you go to work and meet your coworkers, it's easy to get infected. That's yeah.
Yeah, but in Germany, like Berlin, there was one explosion point. Is everybody get people getting back very very early stage, getting back to Inchigo, that Austrian skiing resort. Somebody coming back to Berlin, and then the whole office get infected in a very early case. So that is.
Oh, and the second one is the weddings. Also, they say if you have a wedding banquet to attend, you should not go.
Right.
Or be very careful, because in the wedding banquet it's easy to get infected. And in fact, they only recently reopened the weddings, because in the past we couldn't go to a wedding; it was banned.
Yep.
But now they reopen, but it's limited number of people. I think currently maximum 100 people.
Yep.
And they just tell you this is not recommended currently. So some people just cancel their wedding and they only do the wedding, the government wedding, or just legal, ceremony.
Yes. Do they still do the church wedding? Or
yes, a lot of people do the church wedding. Yes, for sure. But for in Poland, church wedding also means government wedding, because if you do apply for church, it's already connected and they will automatically register you in the government. But of course, you can, if you are, for example, not religious, you can choose just a legal ceremony.
Let's go to the city hall in a US sense. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And I think one thing is I think this is being go through every episode. How is we always ask everyone this question. That is how is the supermarket? What is missing, or what is being scratched at the first moment, and then how is the price?
Yes, so that's a very interesting question, and I think we have to distinguish, between the times when the pandemics just started, so around April, and right now, because in around April, when the government announced the lockdown and so on, so yes, obviously you had to queue up in front of the store, and then a lot of dry foods were sold out. It's typical. I think it happened in every country. So pasta.
Okay.
Those kind of food, pasta, some flour, maybe.
Because you're talking about
rice.
Wet sensation.
Yes. But then and maybe cans, like tuna, canned tuna, and those kind of foods.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because people know that, you can store cans for a long period of time, so they buy this. And of course, toilet paper is per usual. It was also sold out.
Yep.
But very quickly, people realize, okay, it's not going to be shortage of this. So they start. So now it's back to normal. One thing that I need to mention is that Poland is one of the biggest European food producers.
Yeah.
Which is very good for us because we have, a supply of a fresh and relatively healthy food as compared to other countries, and we don't have to import from abroad. So that way, I mean, of course, we import mango, for example, but in case of the war,
but
we have our own food supply.
Price still go up, yeah.
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
Price still goes up.
Yes, that's also another thing I observed, that for the essential products that you buy in the supermarket, I think prices went up. And significantly, I can see and feel that they went up. Because when I went in the beginning, like before the pandemics, when I went to this grocery store and buy food for myself, and I have a single person household, so I just live by myself, and I paid maybe around 250 Hong Kong dollars for like basic food, and for a week. And now I think it's like 350 Hong Kong dollars, something like that. So they really changed the price.
Yeah.
The price went up.
Still, compared to Hong Kong, it's very cheap. I have.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. So I think the one more thing is quite interesting. We talked a little bit in the front before, is talking about the mask. Yes, you have mentioned to me that is something in the early stage of the pandemic. Actually, the Polish government have banned the import of masks.
Yes. In the beginning, not ban. I think it wasn't banned, but it was strictly controlled.
Yep.
What it means is that they didn't want to have people without any control commercially trading masks, because they could see, it's a business opportunity, and there could be a lot of people who could get very rich based on this situation. So government want to regulate this. So if you wanted to be a supplier of medical equipment for hospitals or private clinics, you need to have some kind of approval from the government. For example, in Allegro platform, they had a notification telling you that, this you need to be careful if you buy masks, because this is strictly monitored product. And it wasn't masks, also gloves.
Yep.
And disinfectants, all the disinfectant liquid. So all that essential that people buy, they want to regulate. But I think now it's not anymore. But in the beginning of the pandemics, they wanted to control it.
Is it true? Is like they release all the so-called lift, all the restriction on this? You can sell it like as expensive as you are, or people just get used to it, so they just sell it on the normal price.
I think the second option that you mentioned could be more probable. I didn't follow strictly, what happened with this, but now I know that there is, for example, no notification on the Allegro e-commerce platform. They just say, you can buy the mask if you want, and I think it is still quite expensive if I look at the price of it before coronavirus and now. I think they are still quite expensive.
Like how much? Because probably Hong Kong is now can still, I think now they slightly go down, but still like each single mask, if you buy it on the market, is probably 3 or 4 Hong Kong dollar one for each.
One. So 100 would be 300 Hong Kong dollar. So it's a similar price, I think.
Yeah, because unless you got some, maybe friendly supplier or something like that, you can get like 50 masks to, around 100 or 112, 120, something like that. So I think it's still relatively same with Poland, I think.
Similar, because I bought the last time I bought, because I'm buying for myself also the masks, one-use masks. Those cost me, I think I bought 50 pieces, and they cost about $180 Hong Kong dollars.
Yeah, so I think things still goes up, because I think, because we all know that all kinds of the original material is actually rising, the price.
Yeah. And many of those items, they actually are imported from China, those items.
Because in Hong Kong, the problem is, in Hong Kong, I think in a very, if you're talking about earlier this year, is basically the supply chain, like those, especially those disinfection, those sanitizers. Basically, the supply chain from China is broken. So
yes,
we're running out of all kinds of masks. We so get used to masks from China, so everyone scrambled the mask. Like even I'm not sure you follow this very closely, but in Hong Kong, like some politicians like Joshua Wong, they even trying to get the mask in Central America, in a country called Nicaragua. So it's very, even for us reading so many international news, you get a mask from Nicaragua. That's a very far away.
Yes, and but also a funny thing, an interesting thing is that when people hear, when the mask, this government regulation came in about controlling, the hygienic products supply chain, a lot of people start producing masks here. you know, and I know I have a friend who is having some production facility in West Poland, and he quickly changed to produce masks. And the same with like even individual people start producing masks. They just buy, this kind of filter material, and then they use cotton cloth and start like producing those cotton masks.
In Hong Kong, you probably you remember who is Ricky Wong, he used to try to make his own television station but fail. Eventually, he be building up called a market, online market. Yeah, he just buy the whole mask machine from Taiwan and then put it in Hong Kong and do his own mask. So I think it's kind of new business booming. I heard you also have several businesses during this pandemic. You want to tell us a little bit?
Yes, for me personally, so what I can observe also, as a trend for everyone is that I know, and here in Warsaw we have a very big IT business. So a lot of people work in IT space, in technologies, developers, people who work on systems as an administrators, and also business analysts, so on and so forth. And personally, I'm also in technology consulting for quite a bit. And for me, this I can tell you that the business is going quite well. I start by myself doing a lot of projects on the side, because a lot of people suddenly start to turning into the internet. I would call like that. They would like to have a website. They would like to have an online store. They would like to have a representation, digital representation. They would like to have their social media run. They would like to also automate a lot of manual topics. They start to learning about those digital business aspects. And for me, it was very good, because I gained several clients, and personally I developed during pandemics. However, I can understand that for some people, that were in more traditional sectors, in production, maybe they were affected negatively by this pandemic. But for people who were in technology, I think that it's actually very positive impact.
Yeah, but still, I think it's still in the middle of pandemic. I cannot tell. Yeah, because I heard certainly in Hong Kong is like those traditional, especially working in those restaurants or servicing sector, we call it. It's quite a big hit for them. So anyway, so I think today we have a very interesting talk about maybe a little bit, scatter different points of view, but still it's quite interesting to see how Poland seems relatively safe in this pandemic. And I remember you have a blog. Have you ever blog about your recent activities, or just too busy?
So my blog was anchored mostly around Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Now that I don't have that much exposure and contact with Hong Kong. I mean, I still have a lot of friends. I still keep contact with Hong Kong, and very strong. Each year I travel there, but I haven't really blogged about Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Recently.
Anyway, so everyone should go to visit it. I will have a link in the video, in the Facebook, and also in YouTube. So you should definitely watch the. You have the English part, right? Read the
Yes, I
English
will link. I will send you the link. And one interesting thing, Jeremy, just to finish up, I got an email from a Polish consulate that I will not be able to travel to Hong Kong this year. So they are closing down I am able to travel, but I will have to go 14 days quarantine until the end of the year. So the announcement is until 2021, which for me was very sad news.
Yeah,
I was planning
I know, but anyway, I think I also have trip booked in Europe. I cannot get transferred in Singapore. So it's not that happy, but anyway, so we should keep in touch and see how I probably find you later, because it probably something interesting happened in Poland later. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so
Sure.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
大家又翻到嚟啦，好聽完波蘭美女嘅
阿 Kasia 嘅講法咁阿 Kasia 咧係一個高材生嚟嘅，曾經喺香港讀過書嘅，咁所以佢嘅 blog 咧同香港有關嘅，所以咧就我哋會俾條 link 大家 click 入去睇下㗎啦，咁應該有英文嘅內容嘅咁佢都做好多 e-commerce 嘅嘢嘅，咁所以都係一位才女嚟嘅，咁咧就所以你會見到佢講好多 online business 嘅嘢咯，咁所以你會聽到好多即係當地嗰啲叫做唔知係咪叫熊貓啊定袋鼠啊嗰啲咁嘅企業係啦。咁其實我覺得唯一一個比較震驚嘅 point 咧，就係波蘭開頭咧係禁止口罩入口嘅。係啦，因為呢個道德理由係唔可以俾你哋借機，即係呢一個哄抬呢個價格，即係呢個即係
炒賣啊！我哋係咪啊？
係啦，咁所以呢件事非常之有趣嘅，咁所以我覺得有陣時咧，即係波蘭真係一個好有趣嘅地方，同埋好道德啊，好保守嘅天主教。其實我有討論過呢個問題同佢私底下係啦，咁當然呢一個好似節目度冇乜點討論，其實我覺得呢樣嘢真係好天主教咯。
OK，
咁所以
係我想講，我係覺得有趣嘅係原來我哋而家個口罩價錢同佢哋係差唔多咯。
其實都係歐洲好多嘢，即係包括
貴好多㗎，係啊，所以
其實好多嘢口罩又好，可樂又好，香港都變歐洲價㗎啦，而家。
係咁啊係我哋貴咗。
係啦，咁啊記住去訪問一下 Kasia 個 blog 啦，咁跟住就今日就最重要都係講到呢度嘅啫，係啦。咁你有咩就要聽翻英文嘅，係啦。
再聽多次啊！如果你哋係啦唔知嘅話，係啦。咁好啦，
咁就到呢度啦。
再見。